Okay, and we're welcoming to the NoteSpire Radio Artist Insight, Christian artist and singer-songwriter Matt Wheeler. I got Matt on the phone. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, great to have you on here, and looking forward to getting to know you a little bit, and our listeners sharing what God's doing in you, through you, and et cetera, et cetera. So, hey, Matt, start out by, I know that I dialed a Pennsylvania number to reach you, so where are you located?
So I'm based in Lancaster County. I live in Mount Joy.
Okay.
I mean, you could say Lancaster, the city, is basically my musical headquarters.
Right.
You know, that's kind of home base. Yeah, so I live in Lancaster County, and but I'm from Indiana, and I've also lived in North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland, so...
Oh, you've been around a bit then?
It's been a bit circuitous, but this is home now, yes.
Okay, right. Well, we're just across the river from you over here in York, PA, just north of it, actually. Yeah, a little tiny town called Emmetsville. And I guess you have to be kind of from this area to know where that is. If you get over 20 or 30 miles, nobody's heard of it. But anyway, so you've been in Mount Joy. I've certainly heard of that. So that's where you and your family are, and so is that music pretty much all that you do, or you're? I think I saw that you have a day job too, right? Like many of us.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm actually currently heading home from that day job. I'm an associate registrar with Lancaster Bible College.
Okay.
So,
that's got to be interesting.
Yeah, and I have a teaching background, and so I'm still in education, just in a different sense. The short version of what I do at my job is everything from evaluating transfer credits and setting up schedules for new students to making sure that once we're looking to graduate, are on track to do so.
Okay.
And many things in between. So it's a really great place to be. One of the things that's kind of interesting and unique about Lancaster Bible College is it has a worship arts program.
I was thinking that. Yeah. Sweet.
So it's really cool. Like in the chapel services, the students lead the services. You know, they lead the music for them, which is really cool. And there's a songwriting class, and each spring when they have that, I'm a guest speaker in that.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, like so it works on a number of levels. You know, obviously there's the faith elements, it's central to what we do there at LBC as well. So it's a good job to have, especially like the fact that I don't work evenings or weekends makes it possible to be able to have more family time, and then also to be able to gig.
Right.
I don't find myself having to work on, say, a Sunday morning either. So I can lead music at my church or guest worship musically at another church.
Right.
So it's a good arrangement. I really like it there, and but last year I played 89 shows as well. So plus leading music to my church. So it's almost like a full-time job sometimes.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So tell us about, I believe your band is called Vintage Heart.
Yeah, so my band is called Matt Wheeler and Vintage Heart.
Okay.
Basically, it started as a solo project. I was in another band called August to October. You know, like, I started playing on solo gigs outside of the ones I played with them, but I started showing up with other friends in music, including occasionally August to October members. And like one time I showed up to a place I was playing, and it was me and three other people. So instead of playing Matt Wheeler, they put Matt Wheeler and Friends.
Okay.
On their little marquee. So I was like, we need a band name for this project. So I put it to an online vote. And I had a number of ideas people were voting from. But there were two that tied for the win, and that was Matt Wheeler and Vintage Heart, which is named after my song "You Were Vintage Heart."
Okay.
And then also there was Matt Wheeler and the Spokes was tied with that. I ended up going with Matt Wheeler and Vintage Heart because I thought it was a little easier to take seriously. The other one's kind of whimsical.
Yeah, true.
But it struck me at the time as being maybe a little corny. But I mean, who knows? Maybe someday we'll use that name too. But so it started off in we've been playing since about 2012.
Cool. I was in a band one time, and we did a we would do our normal thing. The band was called Sensation. But then on the weekends, maybe on a Saturday night, we'd go and do one set. We would go change our clothes, put on these greaser outfits, looking like the 50s, and we would come out and we called ourselves Tommy Fawcett and the Three Drips.
Yeah.
Matt Wheeler and the Spokes. I like that. That would be really cool for. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, you two did that years ago, opening for themselves because their opener couldn't make it. They decided to become a country band. They dressed up and they became the quote-unquote Dalton Brothers, and they made these whole alter egos. So if I ever decide to do anything like that, or like the Three Drips situation, I've already got the full name lined up.
You are all set there. Yeah, very cool. How long is Matt Wheeler and the Vintage Heart been together?
Well, I mean, like it was kind of a loose collective.
Yeah.
Since maybe even as far back as 2010. I marked the beginning of the band as it was January 2012. There was a show that I had the opportunity to open for Denison Witmer. He's one of my favorite songwriters, a Lancaster County local, although he's also internationally known as a singer-songwriter. It was these two packed out shows in a small space, but it was a tremendous experience, and particularly that was when my cellist who attended my church at the time, he was on board for joining me. I wanted to have strings, like to have a trio.
Right.
So me and Andrew Berg on cello joined me. But then I had a violinist in mind, but the first one I thought of wasn't available for that date. It was his wife's birthday, and it turned out I reached out to someone that I was Facebook friends with. I'd met a couple times at open mic, Caleb Brown, and he was up for it, and we practiced together, the three of us. And when we did, I was like, "Whoa! I think we have something here." Like strings really complement my songwriting style well, and like the vision I have for the songs.
Okay.
So for a while after that, it was still kind of a rotation of friends that I have who are musicians, but it settled into being really the last maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years. Settled into being Caleb Brown on violin and backing vocals, Andrew Berg on cello, and then Sean Vago on drums, and then me, of course, singing and playing guitar and being the principal songwriter. So yeah, I mean, like if I need a date, I say 2012 is when we started in that iteration. But
okay.
Yeah, and that was around the time. It wasn't too long before that I started playing original songs out in public, because I've been writing for years before that. Poetry first, I learned guitar, and then started writing songs, and we moved to Pennsylvania, my wife and I, and got involved with an event called The Gathering in Marietta, and that's when August October formed, and out of that formed Matt Wheeler and Vintage Heart.
Yeah, okay. So guitar is your main instrument then?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I can play bass a bit, ukulele a bit, but yeah, it's like guitar and mostly acoustic. Once in a great while, I'll break out my Fender Strat and distortion pedal and rock it out, but it's a rare occasion.
Yeah, okay. What would you define your style as? Is there a definition of, or would you say it's kind of just all over the place?
I feel like it's like the common answer here is like, oh, you've never heard anything like our sound. It's like this band crossed with that one. It's like,
right.
I'm not gonna say we're like that out there, but like I usually call it orchestral folk, or chamber folk. Like the chamber folk maybe is a little bit more accurate because it suggests like a small ensemble with strings.
Yeah.
But I mean, I play a lot of my shows. Maybe 70% of them are solo.
Right.
So I can't go with the orchestral tag there. So I would go with lyrical folk. Yeah. A lot of my songs are based off of things like classic literature or specific scenes from the Bible, or like I'm trying like storytelling.
Yeah.
And when I'm interacting with audiences, I give that much more context and background, because I always appreciate when artists do that.
Right.
When I'm at a concert. So yeah, lyrical folk if it's solo, orchestral folk if it's with the whole band.
Okay.
Like James Taylor or Josh Ritter with strings. basically.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I like the you go back to if we go back to like this, even the late '60s into the '70s, and some of the mainstream secular bands, when they started adding the strings into what was just regular old rock and roll or whatever. I like that. I mean, they add the strings in. It's what group? I'm trying to think of what groups. I'm trying to think of. There was groups like the Grassroots and Gary Puckett and Union Gap, and some of those groups that brought strings into styles where you wouldn't maybe normally have previously heard strings on that, and it just added so much. So, and we'll be sharing a lot more of your music on our podcast and on NoteSpire Radio. Matt, we're going to take a real quick pause here for the cause, and then we will be right back, and we're going to talk about one of your songs, and we'll get one of those on here.
You're listening to the NoteSpire Radio Artist Insight. We'll be back with more in just a moment. You're listening to another Artist Insight on WNSMDB NoteSpire Radio.
Okay, and we're back with Matt Wheeler here on the Artist Insight, NoteSpire Radio. Matt, we were talking off the mic before we started about a couple of songs, and you mentioned one that's called is it song number 8 or just number 8? There's an interesting
number 8.
Okay, number 8, and there's some interesting background behind this song. You want to tell us about it?
Well, I mean, I can tell the long version or the short version, but I guess you have time. So
okay, yeah.
So like the song is about being young in the summertime, like the carefree days, when there's no school, when every day is like this endless stream of like bike riding and playing baseball and catching fireflies and things like that.
Right.
And I wrote it when my son, who's now 9, at the time he was only a few months old, maybe 6 or 8 or 10 months old. We were actually, my wife and I were away from him for the first time, maybe since he was born. We went out to California for a wedding, and I wasn't in the wedding, so I ended up with a lot of extra time.
Yeah.
My wife was in it, so I had my notebook as I usually do, and just inspired by the super beautiful weather in that San Diego area in May. Like it was like in the 70s and no humidity like all the time.
Wow, yeah.
And it just reminded me of summer, even though that's not really summer weather per se.
Yeah.
So I wrote out. I mean, a bunch of the lyrics came to mind pretty quickly, and then the following day we were staying at the bride's parents' house, really nice place. And while the ladies were getting ready the day of the wedding, like they're like all getting made up and dressed and watching the Chris O'Donnell movie, The Bachelor, and like so I'm just kind of hanging out by myself. And I heard the bride's father playing guitar in the other room. So I walked in and he welcomed me in and was like showing me all these beautiful classical guitars that he owns.
Yeah.
And I was just like in awe. And he got called away for pictures. He was like, "Yeah, you know what? If you ever hang out here, check these out." I'm like, "Okay." So right there, I went and wrote a fairly simple melody that I put together with the lyrics I wrote the day before and recorded it on my super ancient phone at the time, and and the song was born. And so it appears on my band's debut album, Strings and Wires. And essentially, it came from, as far as the name, because I know it's sort of an unusual name. Honestly, I wanted to name a song like with a number, like I know various like poets and songwriters do that.
Yeah, right.
I decided I wanted to do that, and the wedding was on May 8th, 2010, so that's where the number 8 actually came from.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like so much like symbolic, like say my son or anything, but although it was 8 very recently, so in some way it kind of came full circle there. But yeah, like that's where it got its name. But yeah, just enjoying youth, enjoying those carefree days of summer. Yeah,
sounds good. Well, let's enjoy that as we listen to the song. Here is Matt Wheeler and Vintage Heart with number 8.
On those vintage days of June, the sky was worn and bruised like sleepless eyes. Gently spilled the rain. We were lush and bright, like moths to a light. Our house of cards would never see the ground. Summer came and it broke upon us like Roman candles in the sky. Trade your coins for a handful of wildflowers and let the summer rain sing you to sleep. And summer sing you to sleep. Promises to keep would run like rivers deep, like letters sent, drift upon the wind, but seeds tend to grow, and you shall ever know you were a lighted window at the end of my street. Summer came and it broke upon us like Roman candles in the sky. Trade your coins for a handful of wildflowers and let the summer rain sing you to sleep. And summer sing you to sleep. Oh. Summer came and it broke upon us like Roman candles in the sky. Trade your coins for a handful of wildflowers and let the summer rain sing you to sleep. Summer sing you to sleep.
And we're back with Matt Wheeler. There is number 8. Matt, that's great. That's awesome. I mean, just put us into that place. I like that. I like that, especially as you and I are talking here in February as we're doing this. Not a whole bunch of snow here, but where I'm from, upstate New York, they've still got a couple of feet up there. But anyway, I digress, which I do very well. Anyway, so hey, let's move on to we'll get to another song here in just a few minutes. But we were also talking about something, a special event you've got coming up in April.
Yeah, so I'm going to be playing at WJTL's Junction Center. They've got a really great stage there called Landis Hall. And I was asked to play an opening set in support of Chris August, who's a really wonderful contemporary Christian musician, kind of like blues, pop, rock. And if people haven't checked out his music, I strongly recommend that. I've started with Starry Night and then Muddy Waters are probably the two songs kind of get like the general flavor for what he does. He's someone I admire as an artist, so I was happy to have been asked. So that's coming up on April 26th. It's in Manheim, Pennsylvania, which is very close to Lancaster.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening, if anyone's in York and listening, that's close enough. And tickets are on sale now. You look online. I think iTickets carries it, or the WGTL website. But yeah, so that's definitely one of the shows that are coming up that I'm very much psyched about.
Will you be doing that solo or with the band?
That's gonna be solo.
Okay.
Yeah, just me doing the guy guitar brand of what I do.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of storytelling and if I can, some audience interaction and.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that. It's going to be April 26th, you said, in Manheim, and people can go on your website, which we'll be talking about. But give us the website right now, Matt, so just while we're talking about it.
Yeah, my website's mattwheeleronline.com.
Okay.
So my name and then online.com.
Online, okay. Yeah. So.
there's a shows tab, and that's kept up to date with what I have coming up. And generally there will be a link for tickets. Of course, you can always Google things too.
Right.
There are a few other Matt Wheelers in music, but I think I'm the only one who's as active as I am. But yeah. So MattWheelerOnline.com, and of course I'm on all the social media sites as well.
Right. And we'll repeat all that stuff before we get done, so people can hear all of that. And this interview, by the way, just as you folks are listening, will be on NoteSpire Radio in a few weeks. As you're hearing it now, it's happening. But after it's broadcast a couple times on the station, we will have this interview will be available for streaming and download on Spreaker as well for a number of weeks after that. So, all right, Matt, let's get to another song. This one we talked about. The title is First Dance. Now that's intriguing. I'm sure there's a good story behind this one. How did this one come about?
So this would have been a few years ago. The cellist from my band, Andrew, who I mentioned before, and his then fiance Liz were getting married, a few months. They asked me to write a song for them to dance to as their first dance as husband and wife.
Oh, what an honor!
At the reception, which, like you said, tremendous honor.
Yeah.
I also like to joke, no pressure.
Yeah, right.
We just want you to compose and perform something original that's going to express, be personalized to us in some sense, and really encapsulate our relationship, and do that in front of our assembled family and friends.
Right.
But I was happy to do so. I asked them for some ideas as far as what are some things they wanted included, and so as you listen through the song, there are certain I made it general enough that it works just generally as a love song, but it's also the idea is there are specific parts that they know they were written directly for them. There's a part about the song starts off, summit this rock, we started climbing, the river below us flowing and winding. When they were dating, they were both F&M students, Franklin and Marshall, and they used to go on hikes up at Chickies Rock, down by the Susquehanna River, but not too far from where you are.
Been there. And my wife and I went for a walk up there before we were married.
Yeah, and my wife and I, when we were dating at some point, and went hiking there as well. So those lines have to do with that. There's also the part as free as hawks on the wind. That's actually intended to that one actually is a reference to the fact that I think when they were dating or engaged, they were reading the book The Alchemist together. Mm-hmm. So hawks on the wind, that's a symbolic thing from that book. But it's one of those things where it was written for them. But the first person I played it for was my wife. At that time, we'd been married maybe 7 or 8 years. I told her this song is honestly as much about us as it is them, because I was writing from my own experience.
Yeah.
There's a line in there that says in the second verse, "I've never seen such a light as I saw in your eyes. Knelt to the ground as for you as I bride. That long, long wait now so easily forgotten." When I was at the wedding of a friend of mine, long before I met Charity, the groom's brother had written a song specifically for them, and I don't know if he had the exact words where he said that long, long wait now so easily forgotten, but it was like that. And I always loved that idea, so I want to work into a song. So this was the time. Interestingly, to go along with this too, so they wanted me to write it as a waltz because they were playing the waltz to it.
Okay.
And so I did. I even metaphorically, I even used from our first dance to our last waltz.
Yeah.
Want to grow old with you. And they got back to me a little bit after they attended someone else's wedding, and they were like, "Yeah, we tried waltzing there, and it was harder than we thought. So we're just going to slow dance."
And back to 4/4.
So they're like, "Well, it doesn't have to be in waltz time." I'm like, "Well, I kind of already wrote it that way, so it is. You can totally waltz to it."
Yeah.
Or you slow dance to it. That works too.
Yep.
And that's what they did. But I mean, the song itself, of course, is about meeting that special someone after so many years of praying for them, and God brings you together. Like I said, I was writing a song for them, but through the lens of my own marriage, and
right.
There's lines in there I want to grow old with you. If you listen to much of my music, you'll find I don't write a lot of the the stereotypical love songs,
Right.
like you hear on pop radio. Like they tend to be more about like the more enduring, like long-term
Yeah.
stuff, the good and the bad. And,
Yeah. Go a little deeper.
So like I think of like a wedding is, you know, like in the romantic comedy movies, they pretty much go up into the wedding maybe
Right.
as the ending, and that's like, well, live happily ever after. And they just tell all the story before, but it's like,
Yeah.
like, all right, well, congratulations. The wedding is like the starting tape of like a marathon. It's great. Everything led up to that, but now you're getting started.
Right.
You know, it's like, you have all the rest of your life ahead of you, and that's a good thing. But, you know, it's like a life that picks up where the romantic comedy ends. So,
Right. Yeah. Reality sets in, and
yeah, and there's lots of, I mean, you know, it's a, you know, you find a deeper kind of love.
that's right. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
leaning on God that much more, you know, through whatever difficulties.
Yeah.
And it's drawing you even closer. So,
Right,
so that's what the song is about.
Yeah, it sounds great. I love the title of First Dance. Not only literally the first dance for the bride and the groom, but I think that ties in very well with what you were just talking about. It's the first dance of life together. It's just, that's where it starts.
Right. Yeah, like the chorus says, "We're from our first dance to our last waltz." Like the idea of being like this is the first of many, you know, metaphorical dances. Like, you know, we're in this together, you know, and that's what it's about.
That's what it's about. Well, here is the song, my friends. Here is Matt Wheeler and his song First Dance here on NoteSpire Radio.
As we summit this rock that we started climbing, the river below us flowing and winding, here heaven is so close, you can reach out and touch us. Now this new journey is laid out before us, together embarking, angels in chorus welcome us in, free as hawks on the wind. From this first dance to our last waltz, I want to grow old with you. From first breath of spring to the last gasp of winter, canvas white and new. My stream in this desert, the wind at my back, you're the trail that leads me back home. I will always remember this first dance with you, my love. Never seen such a light as I saw in your eyes. Knelt to the ground, asked for you as my bride. That long, long wait, now so easily forgotten. Pick up a pen and let's write down our story. Days be our letters, we'll start up a family. I thank God above for you. Oh, for you. From this first dance to our last waltz, I want to grow old with you. From first breath of spring to the last gasp of winter, canvas white and new. I stream in this desert, the wind at my back, you're the trail leads me back home. I will always remember this first dance with you, my love. Oh, I will always remember this first dance with you, my love. My love.
Love it, Matt. That is great. It's so special that you wrote that, you know, specifically for for that couple, and also, like you said, as you said, you wrote it for your own your own experience, from your own experience, and for how shall I say, for you and your wife as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we chose two songs that are very much about.
Yeah.
I guess you say I guess say that like the mushy relationship stuff, but
right. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But I mean, but they're a couple of my favorites.
And I'm sure there are other couples that have heard that song and will hear that song. They can also relate very much to it as well. Matt, we're going to take a quick pause here, and we'll be right back. And we're going to talk about maybe some issues that you faced, and maybe we can help somebody else that might be facing some of the same issues in their Christian music walk. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more of the NoteSpire Radio Artist Insight right after this. Welcome back to another Artist Insight on WNSMDB, NoteSpire Radio.
And we're back with Matt Wheeler here on the NoteSpire Radio Artist Insight. We've been sharing and enjoying some of his music and experiences and getting to know Matt a little bit. And Matt, we're going to talk a little bit, and we're at NoteSpire Music. We are all about helping other Christian artists, musicians get maybe over some humps, get started, continue, whatever they happen to need. And we always ask artists like you for some little advice, maybe from something that you have struggled with. And hopefully somebody else hearing as we talk about these things is going to be helped and encouraged as well. So let me start with this question here. What in your music experience, and maybe going back to getting started, or maybe something that you've continually faced and struggled with, what's the biggest struggle that you find in your experience?
Well, I'll answer that with two different things. Starting off, what people don't tell you about any creative venture is that you're probably getting into it because you have good taste when it comes to that,
right?
And you have things you really like.
Yeah,
but
right.
what you make at first is not going to meet that, and it's really easy to get discouraged.
Yeah,
it's easy to like give up before you get to the point where you like what you're hearing. And to that, I would say just like keep generating content.
Right.
You have to work through you have to work through a lot of stuff that's pretty subpar at first, just to know what you're doing. Like I wrote poetry before I wrote songs, like I was saying before, but it was very private. I didn't share it.
Right.
But as far as like at some point I decided I'm just going to try to write songs. And I know they're probably not going to be good at first, but I'm just going to I'll get better as I do it. And that's been the case. I mean, you probably heard interviews, people, or maybe your own experience where maybe a well-known artist even is being interviewed and they happen to mention one of their earliest songs and how laughably bad to them it feels like it is now. And, and how oh man, I don't know if I want to go back and watch a video of someone's early performances. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The persistence is really important, and just the understanding that it's not going to be great at first, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everyone has to start off there. I didn't start writing songs until end of college or a few years after.
Right.
I didn't start playing them in front of people until I was probably around 30. I didn't start really playing out until 32.
Okay.
I think that I'd like to say a lot of people are quitting their punk bands and starting a family by that point.
Right.
And I kind of did it the opposite way, where I got married, started a family, and then started to embark on playing music in front of other people.
Yeah, that is tend to be against the normal procedure, but I'm sure there's been a lot of good things about that, though, hasn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for one, I'm in a way more stable place life-wise than if I were, anyone who's a teenager, college student, just out of college is really trying to figure themselves out. And of course, a lot of music that's a lot of that would be considered pretty classic, comes out of places like that. But that's just not where I'm writing from.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it is a part-time thing for me. So there's not the pressure I've got to
make a living.
Sell out this show, or I've got to book this many gigs, or I won't be able to make the mortgage or rent. It's
right.
Well, rent back in the day. So It's just keeping at it, continuing to generate material, and I think that's really one of the things. As far as one of the things that's a struggle, and honestly often still is kind of along those lines too. It's sort of complementary to the first point. Is be really careful to not compare yourself to other artists.
Oh yeah, that comparison trap. I call it the comparison trap.
Right. Yeah. Comparison's the thief of joy is one of the familiar adages. Like, the thing is, like, it's possible to compare in a healthy way and want to get better.
Yeah.
And that can be a good thing. You know, if you have peers, you have people around you who are doing music, and you're encouraging each other, iron sharpening iron. That's great.
Yeah.
I definitely have a lot of that in my own life, but it's really easy, especially in the age of social media. You know, you see that someone got nominated for a big award, or someone landed a great gig, or they're getting it. They have so many listeners on Spotify or YouTube views, or like it's easy. Like, it's easier to think like well, what about me? But,
right. Why don't I have 1,000 views on my video in the first 24 hours?
Sure, exactly. And so the key is to not park on that.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, try to see if there's any lessons you can learn, but then just move on. And beyond that, like, especially if we're talking about fellow Christian artists, like, one of the best things you can do is, like, to consciously just, like, pray blessing on them. Like, this is amazing they're doing this. I applaud what they're doing. May they get, more great opportunities.
Yeah.
And of course, if someone is succeeding, it wouldn't hurt to, like, sit down with them and have coffee and say, like, hey, I saw this thing worked out for you. I'd love to hear more about how it worked. And,
sure.
And maybe we can work together at some point. It's like,
that's right.
There are constructive things you can pull from the other musicians in the community. Right. You might see, like, venues that they're playing. They're like, oh, I didn't know about that one. Who's the contact over there?
Mm-hmm.
And you can end up helping each other. So that work can end up being a healthy thing. But yeah, like, it's just try to stay out of the comparison trap.
Yeah.
Best you can, and then blessing other artists is, I think, one of the most effective ways to do that. So yeah, that's. But I'd be lying if I said that I don't sometimes struggle with that myself. Like, the first impulse, like, man, that's like, oh man. But also, it's going to come to myself. It's like, yeah, that is super cool that they're, breaking this new ground, and I want to encourage them. I want other people to listen to music too. So.
Now, let me ask you this, though, because of course I'm, being an artist myself, I struggle with it too, Matt. I don't know if I'll ever stop. Probably not. When you come across someone that, like, let's just say another artist who appears to have more, we could say, success, maybe more influence, having a greater impact than you. Does that lead you down a discouragement path, or does it lead you to strive to say, oh, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better, and just really, I'm going to show them. I'm going to do better than what they do. Because there's two different paths there that I find myself down one or the other, depending on the day, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Like, you're like, which one is it for me? Well, it depends on the day and the situation sometimes.
Right.
But, and honestly, some of the first impulse, it's really easy to just feel, jealous. But,
right.
But, like, I always try to catch myself, even if I'm going that route. And sometimes it's not even, like, especially if someone who does something pretty different from me, like, I do my best to have it be like, I'm going to work to get better. I'm going to, like, if it's someone I know, like, trying to find out there's ways we can work together. If I can find out information from them as far as, like, like, oh man, that super cool opportunity. Like, I have a couple different friends who were part of the Play Creation last year music festival. So they played. It was like a kind of battle of the bands kind of thing that I wasn't aware of.
Right.
So in some sense, it's like, oh man, that was a cool opportunity. No, I wouldn't say I went so much discouragement with that, but it's like, oh man, like, that's really cool. Like, how did that come about? And I've asked them, so it's the sort of thing, like, now I know if you just ask, are very much willing to help and collaborate. And I love that kind of stuff myself, to work with other artists and promote each other, play shows together.
Right.
So generally I try to use that kind of thing as fuel to get better, and also to expand my knowledge base and network so that I can, reach out and, get ever better opportunities myself has got open.
Definitely. That networking thing is huge. And I think there's too many artists, even Christian artists, that say, I'm going to go it alone. I'm just going to go it alone because I know what I'm doing. Or they either think that I know what I'm doing and I don't need anybody else, or they may get into that attitude, or like you said, maybe starting out where, well, I'm not really good enough to work with anybody else, so I need to be on my own because nobody else is going to want to work with me. And neither one of those attitudes is right. I think we need each other, not just in our in music, but in our Christian walk. We need to hold each other up.
Absolutely, and I found so many great doors have opened for me simply because I asked.
Yeah.
Things, and people would be like, "Wow, how did you wind up playing that venue? How did you wind up booking this tour? It plays all these dates in Canada or New England or whatever." It's well, I asked.
Right.
I'm pretty fearless when it comes to that sort of thing, and I encourage other people to do the same because I don't really believe in luck. I do think though it's anything that you might call that is often a product of just having yourself out there,
right?
Being prepared and being in the right place at the right time, in the right circles. God can open doors that you never saw coming. I mean, you can give opportunities, but open doors. But it's a question are you going to walk through them?
Right. Right.
So yeah, just asking. The recording engineer that we have made our last couple projects with, and are doing the current one with Stephen Courtney. When I started off, I thought oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to ever record anything with him. It's just, I know he's local, but it's it's way out of my league. But he's become one of my good friends, and, we, and it just kind of sprouted out of just continually working and getting better. And then eventually being asked to do a project for WJTL for a Christmas album, and they set me up with him to record. So it was, kind of being active in the scene. And so the station was like, hey, maybe you'd like to be part of this, and that led to recording with someone I thought was out of my league, but turns out it's working great now.
Sounds like you kind of grew into it.
I've even had I've had times where I'll be on a radio interview and someone plays an early one of my songs, and they hear me play it live, and they'll be like, oh man, I've really grown. Which is a huge compliment. So I hope to continue so.
Awesome, and I'm sure that you will. Well, Matt, we're going to, in our final minutes here, let's go back and review where people can get a hold of you, where your music's available, and things like that.
Sure. MattWheelerOnline.com is the online home of Matt Wheeler and Vintage Art, which is literally...
Okay, let me say that again. MattWheelerOnline, .com. Okay, all right.
Wheeler and Vintage Art on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, even SoundCloud, Bandcamp. We're all those places.
Right.
Whenever I'm touring, I post a lot of photos documenting that from on Instagram. I post random facts. Of the day. Anyone who's friends with me on Facebook knows that. That's not necessarily a music thing necessarily.
Yeah.
But anyone who likes trivia, that's something I do every day, and all that's under my regular page, just as Matt Wheeler. So, So, and our music is on all the digital outlets, Spotify and Amazon Music, Apple Music,
right?
And CD Baby. We do still have, still have old-fashioned CDs. And we even have, and of course, all those are always available at live shows. The shows tab on MattWheelerOnline.com. So the shows where you can catch us. And one of the cool things you can catch live, and hopefully soon I'll be making a store to go on our website. People can buy not only our super cool, super comfy T-shirts, but also we have some limited edition vinyl. I did some vinyl singles at a place up in Brooklyn.
Very cool.
Where it's each vinyl single is basically a snapshot, an audio snapshot of a specific song, of a specific take of a specific song. So the only record of a specific, say Indigo Take 2 or First Dance Take 3 or something like that. The only one that exists is that specific record. Right. So any vinyl collectors, that is as which I am myself. But that's a pretty cool collectible.
Kind of one of a kind, aren't they?
Well.
Yeah, sweet.
Each one is.
Yeah. Well, Matt, any final words for our listeners today?
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for listening. If you're
sure.
out there and you're making music, keep at it. If you want someone to as a sounding board as you're like putting things together, and you want someone to give an opinion, I'm happy to do that too. And I'm easily accessible and I'm friendly. So
we have found that out. Yes. Well, we certainly wish you the best and pray for the best for you, Matt, and for your family and for your music. And I know that we'll be talking again. As I've told people in the past, we're starting to let people know we're going to be doing an additional podcast series. Nate Miller, my partner, and I, we're going to be doing that soon. And that's going to be all about helping new and existing Christian artists in their music. And it's going to be all less about music, but more about the nuts and bolts of doing music ministry and facing things like discouragement and the comparison trap and stuff like that. And all that to say that we are going to be bringing artists like yourself, Matt, on once in a while as guests to help us talk about those things. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And thank you for what you guys do, shining a light on Christian artists, especially independent ones.
Yeah. We can't do that enough, can we? I mean, it's we need to get the word out there. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time. God bless you, and we will talk to you again soon.
Yeah, God bless you too, Paul. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye now.